Hello and welcome to the Empowered Couples Podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay on the same team no matter the challenge that you face. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And a happy new year. We are in the second week of this new year. And we're excited because we have this Best of Us challenge that's going. We have 3,000 couples that are going through this. It's been powerful to have such a group of couples have such an intention. Hence why we want to continue the trend and today talk about how to bring out the best in each other in this coming year.
Yeah.
But we would say almost daily. How do we bring out the best in each other each day? Because that's really what marriage is about.
Yes.
You want to become better together. I know that's funny to us because that was like a slogan we had, years ago. But that is the case. You get married to be better than you are as an individual because you're with this person.
And
and you can do more together.
Yes.
You can experience more joy and love. And we will acknowledge that sometimes it can feel like the opposite, that there's almost the worst of each other. Now, we recognize that part of that is the shadow, and those are the things you have to work through. And when you intentionally do that, that's how you become better. Sometimes we get trapped in the, oh my gosh, like your comment is just bringing out the worst in my own reactions. Or I would say, not always that case, but you just feel more limited. You feel like maybe you can't be, the more common phrase is, the full expression of yourself. And so maybe you feel that it brings out the worst in you. Maybe sometimes it feels like it just doesn't pull for the very best of you, when ultimately a marriage is meant to do that.
The thing you have to realize, and maybe you haven't put this together, is that the level of intimacy that a marriage is, that a lifelong partnership is, that building a life with someone, that is an intimate thing. That is going to mean that you have a lot of influence on each other. Doesn't mean that you are 100% responsible for your partner's behavior or their reactions or anything like that. We're all individually responsible for that, but we do influence how they feel in the partnership, therefore how they act in the partnership, and then ultimately the results that you have. So remember that. Wow, the level of intimacy in our relationship, and I don't just mean physical, I just mean the fact that you're building a life with someone, you live with someone, you're kind of putting your happiness and satisfaction on the line, right? That's a leap of faith in a sense. That's an intimate act. Therefore, you're going to have a lot of influence on each other. So the points we're going to go into today are about the focus that you can each have in your actions and in your attitude to have a positive influence on each other, to be able to bring out the best in each other that I know you felt early on in the relationship and in different seasons as well. And if you've been in a harder season, if you've been off track or you've been really busy, whatever it is, these actions are going to help you course correct to have, we really want the best start to a year. Now, you heard Aaron say something really quick, and I want to make sure that we reiterate this before we go into the points. You heard him say 3,000 couples from around the world are in our special edition the Best of Us Couples Challenge. And if you're like, wait, what? I didn't get a chance to sign up yet. Sign up before we close it, because this isn't going to be available the rest of the year. We're not going to have it in February. We're not going to have it in March. It really is going to be a January only challenge. So right now, go to mycoupleschallenge.com/best. You have to put that /best to get this special edition challenge. Get signed up before we close it. Already got emails and messages. One in particular really stood out to me from a husband. And he said that, the first prompt really brought a smile to his wife's face and that he was already grateful. And it's like day one. So that's the kind of result that you can get. And imagine 30 days consistently. And these aren't complicated, you guys. We designed this for busy couples. So again, go to that link that I already described. It'll also be in the show notes.
It started for everyone on January 1st, and those that were signed up before, that's when it opened. That's when everyone got on day one, but it's day 7 for them. It's January 7th. If you start today, 8th, 9th, you'll start on your day one. Yep. So it obviously will go 30 days, so a little bit into February, but you can still take advantage of that while we're in January. So,
Exactly.
make sure you do that. We're all going through this together. We want to jump into then, as we get these emails, as we contemplate on basically everything that's in that challenge, we pulled out 6 particular areas or actions for you to focus on. Now, Jocelyn, you want to kick us off with this first one?
Well, first off, you want to start with how you show up daily. Think about it. You wake up, what attitude are you bringing to the environment? When you are going throughout even the mundane activities, like, look, we all have to run errands, we all have to clean, we all have to be taking care of the kids. These things that can feel repetitive or just mundane, that's the juice. Like, that's where your marriage exists, is in just the everyday activities that might feel repetitive. So, we've said this in previous episodes, but I feel like it can't be said enough because this is it. How are you showing up in those activities? How are you communicating to your partner? What tone of voice? So, look, we know you might be stressed. We know you might have to run to work, or you've got to get the kids off to school. You feel like you have a million things to do every day. Everyone feels busy. Everyone feels like they have a lot to do. But that doesn't mean it should control or dictate the tone of voice that we have with our partner. Is our tone conveying that we love and respect and appreciate our partner even if we're stressed? Also, what about the patience that you're showing up? Are you showing up patient, or are you showing up snappy, having high expectations, low appreciation? Like, having that patience and that grace for each other is so crucial every single day, because you're both working hard. You're both trying to do the best that you can. Hopefully, we hope you both are trying to do the best that you can. So having that patience and grace for each other, and then being present. Are you kind of seeming distracted, disengaged, giving one-word answers to each other, just the same old, oh, how would that meeting go? And you just are going through the motions? Or are you showing up as interested, as engaged in the conversation? And I get it. Your first thought might be, well, I'm tired, Freemans. We are working really hard. Again, not to diminish it, but we all are. We all have a lot on our plate. That's like modern life. And so we still get to choose what energy we are bringing to the people that we love most. And remember that the people at home are the people that you're working so hard for. Isn't that right? Like, all the energy that you're putting into your work and your professional life, it's to create this great life with your family and the people you love most. So remember that, and make sure that that is showing in the way that you're showing up daily.
So let me put you on the spot for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So give us the emotional feeling of how someone will be showing up if they're taking this on, right? Because I think sometimes we share, oh, are you showing up as disengaged, as neutral, as not focused, as distracted? So let's flip the script a little bit. So what would that be like for someone to show up with that positive,
Mm-hmm.
fulfilling, encouraging,
Yeah.
momentum building environment?
Some keywords that come to me are engaged, joyful, encouraging. I mean, those are the really ones that I visualize and I'm really trying to bring into my day-to-day interactions. So, I mean, joy is different than happiness. Happiness is related to your external circumstances. So you might not feel happy because you have a lot on your plate, but joy is a choice in terms of really anticipating good in your life, of being grateful that you have another day, being grateful that you have this family here, and that we have, I think just a lot to bring us joy if that's what we focus on.
Nice. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot there.
Sure.
Let's move to the second point here, and it's show interest in the things that matter to your partner. It just becomes easy the longer you're together with your partner to think about, to contemplate, and to go about your day trying to meet your own needs or follow the path of your own interests. And there's nothing wrong with that from time to time, but we're saying, how do we bring out the best in each other? It's more simply making sure you're putting enough attention, starting conversations, focus around the interests of your partner. Now, I think for many of us, we do have overlapping interests and we try to have conversations on things that we both are interested in. But we also want to, as we said a couple of podcast episodes ago, you want to encourage and support those interests of your partner that are different than yours.
Mm-hmm.
And giving attention to that shows and displays that you care about the individual expression, the purpose, the following of a path or calling that your partner has. And by doing that, your partner also feels that extra support, extra care, because it's not something that you yourself necessarily like or are concerned for. So it shows that you're putting that mental thought energy,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're showing up with the actions and the support where you can, that you want them to be the best that they
Mhm.
can be.
Absolutely.
And, imagine two people doing that. That's a great way to bring out the best in each other,
Yes.
supporting those individual callings, purposes, interests, and letting them be that full version of themselves within the marriage.
Absolutely. I love that one. Next is to vocalize more appreciation and encouragement. I want you to do just a quick check in. And look, this is a moment for us to all be honest with ourselves. We're all human. But if you really look at the majority of the words that you express to your partner, are a lot of them either about logistics or feedback, even critiques or criticism? So that being in one category. And how much compared to that is appreciation, gratitude, an encouraging note, a positive perspective, pointing out something you notice or appreciate or love about them. So just do a check-in. And if you feel there's an imbalance there, it's time for us to switch it up. And really, again, if this whole intention is about bringing out the best in each other, we cannot motivate each other through, and it doesn't matter how many statements you make of, I need you to work on this, I need you to do this, you're not doing this good enough. That is not going to motivate. Now, we're, of course, if you're a listener, we're all about having hard conversations at certain times. We're all about being able to give each other that feedback at appropriate times. Like, for example, in a family meeting check-in where you're talking about, hey, how can I be an even better partner for you? That's a time and a place to provide that feedback. We're talking about the day in, day out interactions when you're in the kitchen, when you're with the kids, when you're running errands. Are your words filling each other up or draining each other? Are you giving unnecessary little critiques that really, it's just your preferences and it doesn't need to be said? So just do a check-in really of like, are we vocalizing enough appreciation for each other and encouragement? Because if you really set this as an intention, it is psychologically proven that it will bring out more of the good in another person. Just try it. Do an experiment of like, that's absolutely what the challenge is about. Like, you're going to use that as an experience, the Best of Us challenge, but just make it a real focus to express more love, more gratitude, more appreciation, and see how your partner lights up. See how they show up differently, and just the energy in the room. Like, I definitely feel it, like when we say something sweet to each other and when it's frequent.
It's a good reminder. I was laughing earlier because this is the one for us, I feel, both of us.
Mhm.
So I want to take this as a reminder.
For us, yes.
And we'll call ourselves out. I also want to note that this isn't necessarily the conversation about tone or energy. And I know at least you and I have had conversations that go something like, well, I was a 1 or 2 in my emotion of sharing that request, that statement, that comment. And that's something you do want to focus on as a couple. Like, don't want to be sharing small things with this level 7 emotion behind it. But I think in terms of this one, my personal takeaway is just the reduction of really anything and replacing it with more of the appreciation, the things that you are grateful for about them.
Yes.
So a part of this is, I think, about holding back. Because, yeah, you and I, we have the emotional regulation to make a request, say something with a level 1 or level 2. And actually, I've probably gotten more defensive sometimes because I say something like, I said that with a 1 or 2, and so that was my defense on why you shouldn't have felt frustrated at
Yeah.
what I said.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm saying this, I recognize, well, let's just not say it.
If it's not
That's
that
just not
necessary.
necessary. And I know
Yeah.
that I say a lot of things about my preferences just around the house and organization. And most of today we spent getting all of our Christmas decorations down and vacuuming. My parents have been here, so we're
Mhm.
getting the house like reorganized and reset. And that's great for me.
Mhm.
But I don't need to be making comments now about that, say, for the rest of the week. I'm just going to leave that all be.
Mhm.
And so I will just focus on the appreciation part.
Yeah.
So I was more so even saying that for us. Hopefully you as a listener are taking that as way as well. So let's move to the next point here. And another way to really bring out the best in each other is to ask more clarifying questions. Now, it's a good one to go on the back of this sharing more appreciation and encouragement for sure. So you also want to take that same thread with, well, yeah, have I been just responding more quickly with a preference or a shift or my opinion
Mhm.
rather than, again, with the theme of bringing out the best in each other? It also means that you understand where your partner's comments, preferences, requests are coming from. So, does that mean that you do? Ask more questions, be slower to respond, pause, and the questions you want to ask are about getting to an understanding of where is that coming from
Yeah.
for them. If you start to let go of the surface level request, activity, or action, because yes, we all have to share in the task management. Hey, can you do this? Can you go to the store? Can you clean that? Can you
Mhm.
get the diaper bag? Can you get the extra clothes for our kid? Did you pay the bill? And that's not the juice, right? That's the management. The juice of life is understanding what is the source of that for your partner. And I have a good example here. This morning, we were talking about this podcast.
Mhm.
And so this is not an example of me doing this well. However, it is an example to me on how this point we're making is important
Mhm.
for all of us and even me to take on. So you said, what should we do this podcast about? I shared a different topic altogether. What I didn't do well was that I felt that there was some frustration behind your response.
Mhm.
So I'm like, internally, what the heck? She asked me what topic to cover. I shared what was important to me, something I listened to a podcast on. Seemed like you didn't like it, and so I responded from there. Now, as we talked on the way home, it was revealed that you just want to feel that we're more on the same page. Certainly, as
Mhm.
we get into this year, on the things that we're contemplating about, that we're working on, that we're focused on for our marriage, as well as, given this is our life, that we're also on the same page with the messages that we feel are most important
Mhm.
for all of you listening and all those that get our marriage resources and content.
So it was about being on the same page.
That's exactly
Exactly.
right.
Mhm.
So that was the big takeaway. Rather than, again, I was at a level 1, but what I said back to you is, why are you frustrated? I'm just trying to XYZ.
And it could have easily escalated from there. But thankfully we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
emotional regulation techniques. Can I just elaborate on that
Yeah,
a little
sure.
bit, jump in? It was definitely, like you said, a missed opportunity where you didn't ask the clarifying questions. I'm glad you owned up to that, right? But it's like, had you said, well, hey, like it seems like you're frustrated, just kind of checking in. Is there a reason? And I wasn't even that frustrated. It was really just a little bit. And had there been that check-in, I could have actually clarified, oh yeah, why am I a little bit frustrated? I didn't have the awareness until I checked in and I asked myself. And then when I shared it, it immediately made me feel more at ease between us. And I
Yeah, and I
think you
think,
understood.
not to cut you off there, I
Mhm.
wanted to add, I'm not sure that me saying, hey, it sounds like you're frustrated is even a fit for this point, like asking more clarifying questions, because I think for some it highlights that you think your partner is frustrated, and there's kind of more of a reaction to
True.
that.
Mhm.
So if we're to really try to narrow this down, It's just something more like, I sense there might be frustration. I don't need to bring light to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think as partners, we're all pretty in tuned with when there's a switch or change in our partner's experience, whether it's emotional feeling in that moment. I think we don't need to highlight it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to say, well, why are you frustrated? That's not really a curious question. It might be more like, well, hey, what did you have in mind for that?
Mm-hmm.
Or what's important in this case with the podcast? Well, okay, I shared what I shared. I could feel that maybe that wasn't the direction you wanted to go in, or that you were frustrated, but I don't need to point that out. Oh, okay, I hear you. What do you think would be important in terms of a message today?
Or how have you been feeling about podcasting lately?
Yeah, there you go. That's
Have
a
you
good,
been feeling in flow with each other, right? In sync. Like,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, we're not saying this example around podcasting is what you guys are discussing.
Yeah, it was
It's
just a real example for us today.
the greater point is, before we move on, is just like Aaron said, be slower to respond, pause a second. Let there be a little bit of energy dissipation, and then ask a clarifying question. Understand each other on a deeper level. This will keep you focused more on communicating with each other rather than having these unnecessary escalations and misunderstanding and arguing when it could have been a moment of a deeper connection moment. Can I go into the next one here?
Yeah.
So, when life gets hard, stay on the same side.
Mm.
Everyone feels excited at the beginning of the year. I mean, I would say the majority of people do, right? There's this fresh energy. People kind of have this context of it being a fresh start. People set goals, and all of that we love too. And life is going to life. So whether it's middle of January or it's March or it's May, whatever month or time this year, there are going to be unexpected plot twists, stressors, challenges that show up, whether that's just in your life or your marriage. And so we want to still be resilient and still operate as a team when that shows up. The biggest mindset we want you to have in this year, because again, it's not all the highlight reel, is that whatever challenge we encounter, we will operate as if we're on the same team. We will remember we're on the same team. And if you've been a listener for a while, you know that we really believe that challenges develop you as individuals and as a couple. And depending on how you handle the challenge, your bond can become stronger. You can have more respect and love for each other, or it can become strained because you turn against each other. So let that be the commitment you have. The next argument you have, you say, hey, babe, we're on the same team. The next big stressor, whether it's a family member that gets injured, or it's a financial challenge, or it's an unexpected career stressor that shows up, hey, babe, we're on the same team. How are we going to handle this together? All right, let's go on to the next one, which is, as we have shared in a previous episode, one of our top priorities this year. And that is to make intimacy a priority. And we mean both emotional and physical intimacy. If we want to bring out the best in each other, we have to remember that we're not here to just function. We're not human doings. We are human beings. What does that mean? It means we're here to experience life. And we have tasks to get done. You hear us talk about the functional part of a relationship. We love a to-do list. We love getting things done. That's a part of our nature. However, we also are here to laugh. We're here to kiss. We're here to make love. We're here to experience joyful, fulfilling moments together. We're supposed to have fun. And so we want to make sure that we're making space for that. And if you haven't listened to the episode that I did individually about making intimacy more of a priority this year, definitely go listen to that. I go into some more specific strategies for it. Again, the Best of Us Couples Challenge is a great way because there are intimacy activities in that as well. But this year and right now, make sure that you remember you are romantic partners. You're not just roommates. You're not just here to, measure each other up by how much you're each getting done. Make sure you're focusing on the fulfillment part of your relationship. Look for opportunities to prioritize physically touching each other, being intimate in the bedroom, but also emotional intimacy, having great conversations, opening up to each other about your feelings, creating experiences together. So I'm not going to say too much on this one because, again, I just did an episode on how to make intimacy more of a priority. So you can definitely go more in depth. But all of this, right? So we just covered 6 areas of focus. This is all possible. None of this is unrealistic. And so any excuses that come to your mind, if as we said, any of these, you were like, oh yeah, but what about this? Oh yeah, but what about that? We want you to challenge your own excuses. And if there is a real barrier, for example, you need to do some deeper repair work in your relationship, okay, do that. But make sure you're committed to bringing out the best in each other. And if you notice that you're doing things that are bringing out the worst in each other, change it. And we've given you some specific strategies. We want this to be the best year for you all. Like, we really have such high hopes and intentions for everyone. We believe life is short, and don't just keep operating the same way that you did. Really course correct. So we can't wait to hear what stood out to you. We're focusing on this really in our marriage as well. But send us a message if this episode resonated. If you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can hear past and future episodes. And as we said, we're going to be closing the webpage for the Best of Us 30-Day Couples Challenge here really soon. And it won't be open till next year. So make sure you go to the link in the show notes. But we are so grateful that you're here. Happy New Year. And we will talk to you on the next episode.